Well, just for context, this is a video. This video is part of a larger series where they get, like, for example, the first one I saw was like 6 vegans and then 1 mole, and I don't know. I thought, because to be fair to the psychics, like, it's really rare for the group of people to get the mole out. It's really, really rare. And I think that for the most part, you increase your chances when you keep whittling people down. But for some reason, people don't want to, like, continue the game for as long as possible. I think that's because if you get voted out, then you don't get the money. And I thought that everybody got the money, but I realized that you only get the money if you stay in the game and you're not voted out. And so, like, I thought it was, like, interesting at the end when Chantel was like, she already, like, she knew who the psychic was. Like, she wrote down who the mole was before she got on the show. I thought that was pretty legit. And I also think that one of the white guys, I think, the one who was like, he studied anthropology, and he was suspicious of the girl who was talking about Reiki. I thought it was interesting because he was like, well, how do you define a psychic? Because even the mole wasn't really, like, it's not like she was completely pretending. It's not like she was completely, like, out of the realm of spirituality. Like, she said that she like is in the business, quote unquote, but is not a psychic at the moment. She was like, her psychic abilities are blocked. So I kind of felt like she wasn't even, like, a good mole. But at the same time, it's hard to get a good mole because they need to know a lot about the subject, but so that they're not obvious. But I thought it was a good episode. I don't know, that's just me. Obviously, I'm not a psychic. But I kind of left thinking that it was kind of legit just because of what Chantel said at the end when she was like, she knew who the mole was before they filmed.
Okie dokie. We have passed enough time. Thank you so much for your patience. Maitreya.
Hey.
Our special guest for today. I don't think you saw, I shared that link with you, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. I don't think people are ready for this episode at all. Like, I don't think people know what they're about to get into right now. So, that's for damn sure. Shout out to those of you who just joined us live. So I realize when I do this, I have to refresh the page because when I go live, it'll post as unlisted. So I have to make it public, and then I'll just wait a bit. But welcome to episode 122 of Peace Talk. I see Royal Gold in the live chat. Thank you for joining us. And any one of you who join us subsequently, okay, what's up, love? Kushan Mari. What's up, fam bam? So welcome to episode 122 of Peace Talk. There we go. We got more people in the live chat. Hi, Tay DeAsia, Rising Phoenix. Episode 122. We got the master number 22 here, and we have a most special guest. Okay. We've already, like, chatted a couple times. I remember the first time I chatted with you was I was actually in the airport, and it was like such an amazing conversation.
All right.
Oh yeah. So I mean, compared with this one and the last one we had recently, I was just like, how dare I not invite you on a piece? You should have been on a Peace Talk a long time ago.
Everything in its time, and we're here in the 4 now, so I think that's really
yeah, that's true. So for, please have a welcome round of applause for Maitreya Elliott. How you doing, my friend?
I'm well. I'm really well. I mean, today has been very interesting as the moon's in Cancer, so and coming up to this whole like shadow coming into Mercury retrograde, it's been really very interesting, especially just with my energies. But I'm well. I've just kind of had some interesting musical time, just having some singing and raising my vibration. So I feel amazing right now.
Yeah, that's something I really want to talk about with you. Your art, your path as an artist. You know what? I think we've spoken 3 times. I think the last time we spoke was the third time we spoke.
Yeah.
Because now I remember I spoke to you while I was in California. And that's when we were talking about, yes, I was in California when we were talking about how you used to be a Christian artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really want to talk about that. So other than that, you're in the UK, right?
Yes, I'm in the UK. I'm in London at the moment. So yeah, well, that's where I'm born, but I've been moving around a lot. But yes, this is where I am.
Love digging the accent. It's
Yeah. I know Americans and British accents. Like, what's going on?
You said America is what?
There's something about Americans and British accents. Like, what is it?
We're infatuated with our accent, whether we admit it or not. Like, I know me personally. Recently, I've been like, damn, I wish I could just speak in a British accent my whole life without sounding like a complete idiot. It's like,
this is the thing with British accents, because like we don't all sound the same at all. So when everyone's doing, I want a cup of tea, like that's not really what we sound like.
Yeah. I know if I did it, I would just sound like an idiot because people would know I'm not. They know I'm not British. So they're like, "Why are you?"
Like when we try and do an American accent, it does not cut it at all.
No. But that's what trips me out. Like, I've seen some British accent. I've seen some British actors play American roles, but yeah. I didn't know they were British. Like, yeah, I heard them, and then I hear them singing
and stuff, and Idris.
So, like, the whole Idris Elba. So like the whole concept of like British people speaking an American accent is crazy to me. But I'm like we talking British accent, but it's just like hearing it the other way around. Like, wow, like you can do an American accent. Like,
I don't know. It's weird. To be honest, like it is quite difficult. This is why like a lot of singers sing in American accents, because it's actually more difficult to actually pronounce certain, like the way that we pronounce our words is very difficult. So there is like a science to it.
And now that one thing as a hold on, let me put this on Facebook. So one thing that I've realized with like the incorporation or the awareness of like grime hip hop in the UK scene is like the different dialects of British, like, and how it's not just like one, like, let me get a cup of tea, what I say? Like, it's actually, which I think is unfair. Like, there's just like that image that people have of British people, but there's like a whole culture. It's like it's way deeper than.
Yeah, and it's actually that too. There's a whole community, like loads of black people.
A lot of exactly. Which is amazing. It's definitely. I definitely want to tour out there. I feel like I'd get mad love out there too.
Definitely. Like London is lit.
That's good. That's good to know. Is it cold all year round, or is it just like?
Okay. British weather is very, very questionable. It's very bipolar in itself. The last few years, we've kind of had a summer, which we can't really complain about, but that's just due to global warming. So we can't really take any credit for that. But like, I mean, it's normally cold, it's normally raining, it's just normally measurable.
Damn.
Literally.
Wow. That's lots of history in the UK.
Yeah. But as well.
But for those who aren't aware, what is your sun, moon, and rising?
Okay, so I'm a Sun in Gemini and Scorpio moon and rising. So double Scorpio. And a Plutonian. Pluto on my first.
This is why I was saying, y'all, I don't think you guys are ready for this conversation. I really don't. Like
Pluto and my moon on my first.
But exactly. Now let me tell you guys, don't be fooled by her smile. This is a very dangerous woman. All right. Our very first conversation, she Scorpio mooned me like right off the bat. Like, oh, are you feeling this? This is a very deep, complex emotion that you never told anybody else, and I just felt and just told you. Like, just, whoa! I knew you were psychic, but damn, holy God!
My eyes are like hawks. Like I can't help but see. It's really weird.
And then you say it so nonchalantly and casually, like it's the most normal thing ever. Yeah, I only just did something incredibly psychic, but
that's the weird thing. I actually feel like everyone should have that level of insight, and it's really confusing to me. But to be honest, I don't even see, even though a lot of people be like, yeah, you're really extremely psychic, but I don't see psychic as like a massive gift. I see it as just paying attention. Like I can pay attention really well, you know, and pay attention to the signs that people miss that really not actually pick up on. But I really don't like psychic. I feel like it just makes it bigger than what it is, you know, like it kind of fills up your ego a little bit, but it's just paying attention and everyone can pay attention. But, you know, it's about the level of focus that you put towards that.
And you said something that's very important. There's a viral video going out right now about 6 psychics spotting out a fake psychic, and it's a bunch of young people. I don't think any of them are like over 40. Like they're all pretty young. Maybe there might be a few 30 or 40-year-olds, and the whole thing was like it's part of a series they have. Like they did one with vegans too, like spot the fake vegan. So you know, clearly it was. I think one of them even was able to intuitively predict that one might have not been like the real psychic, but like the general gist of it, I noticed that like a lot of new agey key terms were put in there, like, oh yeah, I channel from God's source, I channel from the angels, which, you know what I'm saying? It's just this like whitewashed new age spirituality, psychic bullshit that
it's Christianity all again.
That literally like does not portray what psychic ability, like people think psychic ability is I can see into the future, I know what you're doing, when it's really, you know, I think someone tried to speak of this in a TED talk about if ESP is real. Psychic ability is just being able to be acutely aware of subtle vibrations. It's being focused. It's being able to notice what your subconscious picks up on. And of course, we glamorize it to be some type of like Hollywood-esque, you know, there's a supernatural quality that's possible with it, but that's not the essence of being psychic. In fact, that's one thing that on this path, spirit has. And I hate just saying spirit because, you know, there are people who are just like, spirit told me that I should do this. Pisces do this all the time. Spirit said I should do this. Spirit said, no, honey, that was you. Spirit said, get a clue. Like,
and just even that in itself, like that's one of the things that really irritates me, because I feel that there is a thin line when it comes to intuition. Like, you receiving information that could literally be your anxiety just fueling you, and you've just created and gone off and just done some, like, you know, like, where are you? It's completely further from the truth. But because you believe you're psychic, you're like, yeah, I know. No, that's your anxiety. Like, you need to be able to discern, like, because it's so easy to go into judgment. Yeah. You know, it's so easy to judge, but discernment, like, it takes a lot more control. It takes a lot more mastery, self-mastery, because you have to make sure that you're not like infusing your own projections in that intuition that you're getting. You know, is that your own shadows that you're merging into this intuition? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, especially with readers, you can only give a reading based on the level that you're at, that you're currently at. So if you haven't even done any type of purging in yourself, and I know about this, I'm a Pluto in first house, like
you're the real deal.
Purging is my life story. But if you haven't even begun to go through that process and you're giving people readings, you're giving people readings based on your own anxiety and your own limits within yourself.
Pretty much.
And so it's so important that whenever you're coming into this work, whether you're a therapist, whether you're working in mental health, whether you're a reader, whether you're an astrologer, whatever, if you're a healer, whenever you're working with other people, you need to make sure that you're straight first. What does the Bible say? Pluck out the speck out of your eye first before you go and pluck out.
Before you go to the log. Amen.
And not tripping up, and then end up having the baggage of everyone else's, and you haven't even learned how to purge your own first.
Exactly, and I think the problem is how accessible. Like anyone can call themselves a psychic. Like I didn't see anyone. They carefully selected those people. In fact, one of the people in the video I've actually met before, and that person only became a psychic because they see me on YouTube. Like they've been less of a psychic than I have. And I don't even call myself a psychic. I call myself more a counselor. Real authentic psychics are like 50-year-old, 60-year-old crones who've been doing this for like 20, 30 years, is in the lineage, but there's no, I can't be a doctor without getting a board test. I can't be a lawyer without passing a bar exam. Anyone can be a psychic. Anyone can literally pick up and be like, I feel intuitive vibes. I'm tapping into the spirits. I'm going to read your chart. And it's misleading because it's like you said, anyone has psychic ability. So anyone can read cards. Anyone can accurately read transits. Anyone can show you what's going to happen, but that doesn't make you a psychic just because you could do that. I can take a stethoscope and I can read someone's heart. I can give someone a checkup and it'll be accurate, but that doesn't make me a doctor. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, that's what we're facing. Like you and I, we've been called into this. Like I've done the initiations. You've had the experiences. We've gone through the doubt and whatnot. And other such of you guys watching too, which by the way, shout out to those of you who have joined. I noticed some of you said that you didn't get a notification for this. And I feel it's the way that we stream live, but please hit the bell. I never told you guys hit that. Hit the like button if you haven't already, and click the bell to get notifications when I post videos and when I go live. But yeah, that's why I appreciate people like you who are authentic with what you do. And I mean, like you're out here in service for and with your gifts, and you're a very, very, very talented individual. I know our moon meets together in Sagittarius, so we're like the full moon right now, which is anyone watching, you got two Geminis. Every single one of my Gemini peace talks have been like nothing short of amazing.
Because they're Geminis, what do you expect?
Exactly.
Nah, but it's real.
But oh yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like every Gemini peace talk from Amber to Sharmila to Jim Kincaid, and I know we had a few more as well. It's something about how we're able to just talk about things that really expresses truth. So, I mean, just keep that in mind, guys. Like, once again, like, get ready for the depth because we going in for sure. I think what were you going to say?
No, and I was going to say I'm a progress moon and rising in Sag as well, so.
Get ready for that cap.
No, where am I?
when that cap hit, when I was progressive in Sag, I was going out all the time. I was just like, I didn't know what to do with my life because I didn't go through that cap, like the Saturn return and whatnot. When that went into Capricorn, I was working all day. Like, oh my gosh, that was when I started working for Lada, and like things just started. Oh goodness, now it's in Aqua, and I'm chilling. I'm back at school and whatnot. But yeah, the Sag one is your time to have as much fun as possible and just like express. And then Jupiter is going over your progressed rising, so that's cool too.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm really coming into myself as well. Like this whole, especially the Jupiter retrograde that we just came off, that whole reinvention energy that just came out with that. Like I was so here for that. Like that really just did so much for me. So like I feel pumped right now. Like, and it's interesting because it's like who I thought I was is just it's just completely flipped. You know, like I thought it was this, and it's actually, you know, it's so much bigger and so much more expansive than I could even believe it to be.
Yeah.
It's not even egotistical. It's just I had such low limits of myself that I couldn't even begin to dream big for myself. I felt guilty to be able to do that. You know? Like I didn't feel like I deserved to be able to dream that big about myself. Like that's really well.
Well, let's in relation to that, as far as like making a 180. One thing that we both have in common is that we both were Christian musicians. Before I started going heavy into my path as a rapper and artist, I was very much so a serious Christian rapper for a little bit, while it was like really and some of my best, it's ironic, some of my best songs I made were Christian rap songs to this day. But I understand personally why I had to make the shift, like how I don't consider myself any less Christian. I just see the focus is different. The way I understand Christ is so much different than the postmodern way.
Boundaries.
Yeah. So could you describe your musical journey for us? Like how did you start? What? Yeah.
No, sorry, I was going to say.
Is Maitreya your artist name?
Well, actually, no. Maitreya was actually the name that I received spiritually through my transition. My name has always been Naomi Maitreya Elliott. Namz has always been like my nickname, and so everyone called me Namz. But I came from a musical family that was quite respected within like the UK gospel scene or church scene. My dad's a saxophonist, so I feel like that's where I got my ability to sing, and just no tone, because I learned so much from my dad. Everyone in my family plays an instrument, multiple instruments, including myself. I was producing as well, so I was producing all of my music as well. So I started doing music, obviously, in church. I was a keyboardist, so I used to play in church, and that's how I learned how to produce. In fact, I taught myself how to play within 6 months. I could not go to a music lesson for the life of me. I could not. Theory did not make sense to me. And it's so interesting. I even went and did a degree that I did not complete in music. And I remember the last masterclass that I did in my university, if you don't know. I know we do, like, we cut down a lot of words in the UK. But the last masterclass that I went to, I said to my teacher, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to understand music the way that, you know, like I'm supposed to understand music. Like, I feel music. I don't understand the logic of it. Like, although, like, there was something that I was able to do in through my playing that was, I feel like being a gospel musician, if this really kind of clicked for me, because I learned how to play through numerology before I even came out of church. So like I would learn to play by numbers, like, and if anyone's like has played in church, you've seen like people throw up numbers 3, 2, 4, like, but I understood the numerology in those numbers, in each of those numbers and each movement that I was doing. So I literally started like doing like intentional music, and I feel like that's what actually really amplified my playing, because I wasn't just playing for the sake of playing. I actually knew exactly what I was playing. I knew that when I went to the free, I knew what I was opening up on that free. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I really was like just trying to go deeper than the surface. Like, I've always had that thing. I have to go deeper than the surface. So interesting.
Very Scorpio.
Right, but it's interesting that the church that I went to, well, I started off in a cult, but the church that I ended up going to was very charismatic, but it was also very, very esoterically based. Like it was lit. Like they taught us numerology. They were low key teaching astrology too, because they were talking about Kairos and Kairos moments and stuff like that. Like they were low key talking about astrology, and I'm like, whoa, it's only now.
Chiron?
Yeah.
Wow. Imagine hearing Chiron in the church.
And Chiron. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're talking all of this stuff, and it's like they're talking about timings and stuff like that. So yeah, like it really exposed me to a lot. But one of the things that coming into music, I always said that I didn't want to be labeled as a gospel artist, even though that's what people would try to place on me.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm just an artist. I'm someone who, you know, if you look at any of my music, I've got like all my music on like all of the distribution. Like, if you look at it, it's like I think there's only one song on my EP where I mention Jesus, the name Jesus. Every other I'm just talking about life and my experiences and how I've been able to heal through my experiences and stuff. And I wanted to be able to just connect to people on a very, very real level. And I think at this point, I was already transitioning. I've been transitioning from like 2011, you know?
But that was a very heavy transition year. That was the year I transitioned too.
Oh, really?
That was 2011 is the year I became, like, I've been Christian my whole life, but 2011 was the year I rededicated myself to Christ because of an event that occurred that made me question whether I was going to go to heaven, because 2011 was the year that Harold Camping was like, Jesus was going to come back. And I was like, that's total bullshit. But what if he was right? What if he was telling the truth? And what if he was right? Did I live my life like a real Christian, or was I lukewarm Christian? I don't want to be spit out because I wasn't hot or cold. So that was that same year I witnessed and brought 2 of my friends to Christ. And by the end of that year, I'm like on the way to Puerto Rico to get initiated in some African traditional religion cult, and like not even like completely denouncing Christianity. It was a crazy year. I kind of like took another detour that wasn't right for me, but I needed to do that though. It was like part of my initiation. It's pretty much like God wanted to show me the light side with Christianity, and then show me like the dark wisdom, and then like bring me back to a balance to see like how I don't need either of them and move forward with the stars. And like, but I still needed to go through that. It's almost like I cleared karma through that and like learned the good parts of each. But 2011 was that transition year for me that really kind of like set me straight and on my journey, which is crazy.
2011 slapped me down. In fact, that's when I started suffering with a condition called fibromyalgia. Well, I didn't even know if that's what it is, but it completely paralyzed me completely. So I was in a wheelchair.
No way.
A year and a half. For the first 6 weeks, I could not move any limb at all. Like I was just, it's almost like I had a stroke. I couldn't speak. I couldn't do anything. And this was funny because this was shortly after I just moved back to England, because I was working in, I was doing a music contract in Greece. So I was dancing and singing, and, you know, like this was like my first step outside the country. I was 19. I was like getting contracts and stuff. I was like, yeah, I'm on my way. And I realized that as I was doing all my dancing and stuff, my body was just not having it anymore.
I hate to go through there, but like, have you noticed that like people specifically like you who are about to make it, and then something happens and just like redirects them? Like they're well on their way. They're well on their way, and yeah, I feel like that happens to very special people. Like the way it happens too, because the universe is like, damn, if we don't stop her, she's gonna make it. Like she's gonna go.
it happens like every 2 years, like clockwork. Like I can never hold on to a form of my image ever.
That's very Scorpio rising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm constantly shifting. And it's not even like, to other people who may not know me well or may not, like, you know, have a relationship with me, they'll be like, well, that's really drastic. How do you just go over there? But for me, this is like a gradual process of things. Like, I'm a Scorpio. I'm all of that Scorpio energy. Like, I'm just like, I have no fear. Like, I'm just, once I see something, I'm like, okay, I resonate. No, I'm jumping in. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just going all the way. And it's like, I just feel that, I can't hold on to these. It's like there's always a new aspect of myself that's revealed through all of these trials and tribulations that I may experience. But it's like, it's when I get over the other side, I'm like, that's the best thing that could have ever happened to me. You know, if anyone is on who's checked out like my story with regards to mental health and stuff like that was a crazy experience. And to be honest, a lot of people who would have gone through that personally probably wouldn't have been able to survive that. But it's like, for me, it's like, okay, I will face all of this darkness, and I'm like, yo, that was nothing. Like, so nonchalant. Like, that was cool. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I learned what I needed to learn. Like, that just, you know, it popped on a light bulb that I needed to have on.
That's beautiful.
You know? And it's like, I have to constantly look at my experiences like that, because, oh my God, this year in particular, especially coming from the traumatic experience I had to really, really learn how to not hold onto like my victimhood of the painful experiences that I've had, because, you know, it would have not, the stuff that I've been able to accomplish this year in itself, after having lost everything in the last 2 years, it's only because I've had to have forward thinking. I can't be thinking about everything I lost and everything that was so painful. And, you know, and it's not even to say you cover up the pain. No, you deal with that pain. But I can't hold on to what has gone. Like, everything's new. Like, life is continually moving. And if you keep yourself stagnant in these spaces, like, how do you expect yourself to actually evolve from your situation?
Exactly. Without any trials, without the struggle, like, and that's what I appreciate about Scorpio energy. It's the raw, gritty, dirty work that people just run away from, and that's why you can tell if someone's real or fake with Scorpio, because if they're fake, they didn't go through Scorpio. They didn't go through death. If they're real, they went through it. If they're fake, they try to skirt around it. They're trying to fake it. So that's
There's something that, especially with Scorpio moons, that, like, because it's so weird. Even if they haven't like gone through it, somehow they can still act like they did. Like, somehow they can still act like, you know, like, I got all this knowledge through the experience, but you haven't actually, you know, done the healing process to actually go through that. And that really irritates me sometimes, because it's like, if you're gonna be, or like, you have to be authentic with this. Like, who are you fooling? Yourself. You know, if all you're doing, like, because social media has become, like, especially with all this new age, it's good, like, everyone's got their sage on their Instagram and their crystals out and everything. It's become like a new trend, you know, the new trend. And it's like, you have to be careful to not allow yourself to get caught up in the hype of things, and not actually be keeping yourself grounded in what you actually need to be doing, which is healing yourself, which is purging all of your karmic influences. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna, like, do you really want to be doing this whole thing again?
But you know the best part about, the craziest part about that, the lighting of sage, the practice of spirituality, which is a 12th house affair, connects to the 8th, connects to the 4th. The lighting of sage, the reading of cards, you know what I mean? Like, the application of spirituality is inherently a private thing. It's not something that's supposed to be broadcasted publicly. You know what I mean?
Your rituals.
Yeah. Like, the spin I personally put on them is usually just to kind of like point that out, and also to kind of give it a different light, and make it more, you know, community as opposed to making it like a trend, as opposed to doing it because I think it's cool. Like, look at me, like this sage, look at me, like, do this ritual, you know what I mean? But I'm even coming to terms with certain things that I personally have to change, as far as like how I talk about these things, what I actually do. Um, it being a lot much more mature now. It's because we got into this especially before our Saturn returns. Like we're only now stepping into adulthood. Like, see, there's a lot of wisdom our parents told us that makes sense now, like the end times and the false prophets that are out here now, and like pretty much using these religious structures as like
Even the Great Reconnection. This is the new age, I think.
This is it. This is totally. I mean, this new age of Aquarius is going to dead all that, but it's definitely fascinating to see, and in some ways we take part of it, but it's also I feel like we're also meant to like infiltrate in order to draw out those who are lost. And that's what I kind of think is interesting about Geminis on this path, because most Geminis at some point have had to do some call of service to God, where we have to use our skills to bring people to Christ, which is that Gemini vibration, the doorway into truth. So you've been a Christian, and I like how you said before, like, there's that unfair label of calling someone a gospel artist. One of my favorite artists is Bizzle. And he raps about, because I talk about Jesus Christ, you guys call me a Christian rapper. You guys say all I spit about is Jesus, but you guys will listen to a drug dealer rap about killing and murdering all over, and you won't say that he's rapping about the same thing. All hypocritical. And it's like, you're a Gemini, I'm a Gemini. Kanye West is a Gemini. He's literally I feel like a lot of people are suspicious about his decision to stop making secular music and to really go gospel. But his first single was Jesus Walks. So like, this is a man that has always had a relationship with Christ. And the thing that I think is inherently misleading is the distinction between secular music and gospel music. God is not up here in heaven like, well, I'm not going to listen to the secular music. I'm only going to listen to gospel. Like, God does not think like that. God does not section music like, oh, well, this is not of me, but I'm going to listen to these people chanting choruses of him. No, God is listening to the windows. Drop down my butt. Like, every single expression of music, whether good, bad, or ugly, is an expression of God. And there's some people who don't get that because they feel like they can distinct, this is evil, this is good. But it was the tree of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil that created the duality for you to even see what's good or bad. So to even delineate it is pretty sacrilegious in and of itself before you give some kind of image to this God you worship. So it's just so very profound how the understanding of, like, Christianity or God is still very much so misunderstood. I'm a huge believer that Jesus walks amongst us and people will not recognize Jesus because he hangs out with the drug dealers. He hangs out with the sinners. And they're expecting someone. They're expecting someone who goes to church every Sunday and pays tithes and lives a Christian life. Jesus never said he's Christian.
Like, that is what really got me irritated when leaving church, because I went to a very charismatic church. I'm seeing healings all the time. I cannot deny that. Seeing like crazy deliverances and stuff like that. Okay, cool. But where I got irritated is like, you lot are getting so happy in these four walls and you're supposed to be for the world. Like, why can't you take this out of the four walls and have your healing and deliverance services in hospitals? Like, why can't you actually go to the streets? And because this is the thing, this is the battle as well with those that are in the church, especially Christian artists. It's like, you try to go out to try and be like, okay, I'm going to bring Christ to the world. you know, but that becomes secular because you're outside of the door of the church. But it's like, even the word like, what does it say? The called out is the ecclesia. That is the church. Those are called outside of the church, out of the four walls of the church, and actually doing the gritty work on the streets where it matters.
Yeah.
Like, how does it glorify you if all of the tithes and the money that you're paying is going into all of these glamorous lights, you know, to be able to have all of this glamorous entertainment for a Sunday service?
Yeah.
Yet you've got people out on the street that are suffering, who can't, who are homeless, who are sick.
Tupac said that.
Tupac
said, do you see how big these churches are out here?
Mm-hmm.
You could let homeless people in there. How come God didn't let them stay in these churches?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there are many churches who open up their space for nonprofit work. This is why they're tax exempt entities. So they do homeless shelters, they do donate, but there's still a fakeness to it. It's still a social club. The main, like what Paul called Christians to do. I mean, it's so amazing because at the end of the Bible, it was basically Paul and Jesus just like, yo, the church is dead, B. Like, be careful. He basically described the state of the church today. It's like, these people worship me. They act like they worship me, but it's just a social club. Their hearts aren't really in it. And these are people arguing doctrine. These are people who are sinning. They're people, it's just like today. But what does Paul call us to do? Paul calls us to heal the sick, visit the prisoners. No one visits the prisoners. Take care of the orphans, takes care of the widows, the real practical work, instead of just staying in your four-walled church and you know what I'm saying, judge other people the real Christians went out there and risked persecution to spread the gospel, to go out there, like you said, in the street. And you know, it's amazing. I feel like whether you believe in Jesus or not, you can still do that work because it's all about the actions.
Exactly. And you know what, like, even just the whole thing of like, okay, I would see all of these prayer services, but I'm like, God only manifests itself through you. Like, God, you are the manifestation of the God that you serve. So what are you doing to solve these issues?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't be, and we still do it again. Like, this goes both for the spiritual community as just as much for the Christian, because we've taken a load of religious practices and programs and merged it into spirituality in this new age.
We're basically worshiping angels now and like calling on them and like bringing Christian terminology into us. Spirituality should be more scientific than religious. But that it is what it is. But yeah, I think it's amazing because it's our generation that's going to go through it. Like, we're the ones that are going to have to really like address this, change it. And I will say, in good merit, we are doing that. It's not all bad. We are coming into progress. There's a much healthier dialogue about this, even though it's still inherently misunderstood, even though there's so much disinformation, even though there's just like deliberate cherry picking of information. Like, confirmation bias is a very ugly thing. Scientific community, in the religious community, in the spiritual community, and people only want to pick from fruit that basically confirms what they believe and won't necessarily acknowledge the truth that contradicts what they believe.
See, this is the thing. In my journey, especially when I was leaving Christianity, it was funny because I had spiritual leaders, because I had like a spiritual father and all that kind of stuff. Like, I was going to school of the prophets when I was back in church. Like, I was I was there. Like, I was in
the all night vigils and the prayer, and the like, prophecies.
Then they call you out and you'd be like, "No, go prophesy in front of everyone."
Oh,
practice your gift. This is where you practice healing, right?
All right.
Spot. You know, so you had to be verified on the spot.
That's
like you know, but it's like I because everyone was like, no, you need a leader, you need someone over you. I was like, no, I don't want anyone around me because I don't want any influences. If like, I know everyone has that feeling to source, or has that connection to source, or whatever you want to call it. like higher self, whatever. I don't even like to call it higher self or most high, whatever. I don't like anything higher. It just is. But like, I had to, everyone has that innate connection. All you have to do, the problem is that people don't want to take the time to just sit in and figure out what that is and define that for themselves. What did Adam do? He defined his reality. He called the animal. He named the animals. He named his reality. And what we're doing is we're so stuck on the program of what's being presented to us, because we're too lazy to go on that journey to really find out for ourselves. Do you get what I mean? And so it's like, I had to be like, no, I don't want no one influencing me. I want to discover this for myself. And where I'm at now, I would have never thought I'd be here, because I was one of those people who was, trying to be the apologetic for the conscious community, being like, no, you don't know God, I can show you God.
Yes.
I was one of those people.
Yeah. That was when I was making my transition. That is literally what I wanted to become, a Christian apologist. So that I can. And I was reading this book by Ravi Zacharias, who shout out to him. Like, he's one of the Christian scholars that I think is super awesome. But like, a lot of what they were saying is, don't like listen to people, listen to where they're coming from, so you can, instead of trying to like defend Christianity, you need to understand their blocks to it. And, I just think it was so interesting while I was learning that. That's when, God was like, let's shift your focus. You know what I'm saying? But it's crazy because other people can say that wasn't God that said that. That was the devil who said that. You know what I'm saying? That was the negative influence because you walked away from the Christian path, which is really unfair to say, because now you're pretty much so like now narrating someone else's path to what you believe it should be.
Exactly, but it's actually really insulting as well, because with my journey, like I'm like I remember, because how I started leaving churches with me moving all the way to Birmingham, and that's where I started university. So I left my church that I was at, where I was basically they put me the musical director over 5 different branches. And they were trying to move me through to like work with the youth and stuff like that. So I was trying to like build myself up there. And then I remember just 2011, I was like, yeah, you need to go to university. And took me over there. And then I realized that I didn't want to settle in a church. I couldn't. I just didn't have it in me. And I was like, where is this feeling coming from? Because I've never missed church. Like, I love church. Like, I would be there in the week too. But there's something that just couldn't allow me to be in the building, because it was like the experiences that I had at home were so powerful. They were more powerful than they were in church. And I was going to church seeking for the experiences that I was having at home and couldn't find a match. So then I had to be like, okay, what's going on here? Because I know I'm cool. Like, my relationship is solid, but it's this stuff, like, this is not matching up. Like, why do I feel like I have to be going to church every Sunday? Why do I feel like I have to be so ritualistic about my relationship with God? Like, and the moment I started taking away the ritualistic aspects of stuff, I just realized that it was so much more simple. And I created so much anxiety for myself, unnecessary anxiety, because it was so much more simpler. Do you know what I mean? All I needed to do is and the thing is, it's the fear that comes along with it. I will never forget the first time I allowed myself to question God, because I would always have those questions in my mind, like how, like one of the questions I always have is like, with Genesis, like, so with the Bible. So I'd be like, but there's no beginning and there's no end. Like, isn't that reincarnation? Like, because you've got Genesis, and that's not the beginning of the Bible. Like, you've got the fall of Lucifer, but then before that, you've got the pre-Adamic race, and then you go to Revelation, you've got, the tribulation, you've got the New Jerusalem. Like, what is that? Like, is this going to happen all again? Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Especially in, I don't know if you caught that scripture. I think it's in either 1st or 2nd Peter. And it's talking about the earth standing out of the water, in the water. So it was actually saying that there was a flood before Noah's flood that had actually decimated the earth. So, like, how many destructions have we had here? Like, is this, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I remember I was so scared to just ask those questions, and until the point where I had to be like, no, like, how can I be so afraid of this God? Like, if God is supposed to be loving, why am I so afraid to ask questions? Do you know what I mean? Like,
It's very true. And in fact, and it's like even to this day, like when I question, when I bring up to my mother certain like questioning, you know what I'm saying? It's very much so dismissed. And not just my mom, like there's people in that generation. It's very dismissed. It's like instead of acknowledging the question, it's like
Mhm.
don't question it. Like don't even there's going to be deception, there's going to be difference. It reeks of like someone who's been brainwashed or someone who's just so stuck on that faith they don't really know anything outside of it.
Mhm.
And especially as a woman, you know, if you do research, there's no historical evidence of Jesus Christ. There's no historical evidence of Paul or
Mhm.
Saul. Not
Mhm.
to say that they don't exist, but there's really little to no real historical evidence of these figures. Maybe Paul, maybe you can say there's Paul, but
But
you
then
read,
even with Paul, you have to question, like, most of what we get from the Bible is from Paul, not from Jesus. And the book is supposed to be about Jesus.
well, the thing is, well, exactly, yeah, and I mean, let's not even talk about the fact that the Gospels were written like supposedly 100 or so years after the date it happened. So that's like you dying right now, and then 100 years later, someone writing a story about you. Like, well,
Mhm.
this is what I heard happened, and there's no
Mhm.
original manuscripts. You
Mhm.
cannot, to this day, find an original manuscript. Everything else was copied. So the Bible, every single book in the Bible was made up. It is fascinating that in 2019, people worship this book as if these events happened historically,
Mhm.
which is one thing. This is an amazing book, but what people do is say you cannot read of any other books. Like this is the only authority. That biology book you have, that chemistry book you have, that biology book that's saying how we carbon dated billions of years ago. That's wrong because this book says that it was created in 7 days, and that is a mental illness. That is psychological. It is a brainwashing. This book was never meant to be taken literally outside of an allegory. So it's like there are passages in this book where, as a woman, you're not allowed to talk in the church. It's just a
Mhm.
man thing. You're
And you have
supposed
to
to.
cover your head. Mhm.
You have to cover your head. You have to shut up in church. You have to let the man lead. You have to submit to the man. And this was created in a heavily patriarchal age where women had no rights. So
Mhm.
it's like you have these ancient influences. I've written the main message that I'm getting now is to just renounce everything. Like,
Get what you
stop. Like, there's wisdom. And the reason why it's hard to is because there's wisdom. We were brought up on this wisdom, but it's like so like renounce it. Like you need to move forward. We're here to like think about the fact that we still celebrate holidays that are
want.
from ages ago. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? We still celebrate Halloween. We still celebrate Christmas that have pagan influences in it that like we don't need to continue that consciousness. Like we can start totally new, but people are so afraid of change.
You know what it is as well? It's also really maintaining that childlike essence, which is what the Bible even talks about. Because as an
Yes.
adult, you're fixed in your mindset. You're
Yeah.
already solid. You're already, all of your ideas and everything's already fixed. But a child is just, it's always mutable. So it's like it's forever. It's just malleable. So
Yeah.
it's like it's the moment that we just learn to just come back down, and this is why, especially inner child healing, has been so empowering for me because, especially a lot of us, especially if you come from like really abusive families, it's hard for you to be able to allow yourself to go down it because all you trust is your family and everything that you've been told, and you're scared to question, you're scared to affirm yourself, you're always self-doubting yourself. That's where imposter syndrome actually comes from, the
Mhm.
self-doubt from especially abusive upbringings and childhoods where you continually second guess yourself.
Yeah. which we're like trained to do. We're trained to second guess ourselves. We're trained to give up our authority to a higher being. That I really honestly believe the original iteration of the Bible didn't even have these doctrines here, because all these stories were stolen from other religious civilizations. You took the wisdom from them, turned around and said that these people are pagans and they're Gentiles and they're demonic worshipers, even though you stole their gods, you stole their religions, you stole their way of life. And then you Christianize it, not whitewash, but you Christianize it, which was a huge thing that happened, where narratives will be changed because, oh, this is too sexual, so we have to purify it. And like this all happened within the Dark Ages, and you have people giving their life to a narrative that was created by a bunch of people who wanted to control pagan influence, in that sense, syncretizing everything, which is
it gets worse though, because when you look at so, for example, the story of Jesus and at the cross, and that is the foundation of the Bible, of him dying at the cross. But that scripture was added in the later translations. It's not in any of the previous translations of him being killed by despair. That's the only thing that actually confirms that he died. Apart from that, where is he? When they're talking about he was disguised as a gardener, no, he was not. He was not in two states at one time. No, he was disguised as a gardener, like the Bible said. You know, and this is why I'm actually the Islamic perspective of the crucifixion of Christ. I'm kind of I'm veering towards their perspective.
What is the Islamic perspective?
That the bodies were switched.
Oh, really?
That's why they don't affirm him as a prophet.
Or they say he's a prophet as opposed to like the
they say he's a prophet rather than the son of God.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. Like it's weird because if you do look at the Islam account of things, there is deeper wisdom with the Quran and how they interpret their stories, and they always kind of say Islam is more militant because of verses where they say, like, if you're against Allah, then we're against you. But yeah, there is a very amazing, interesting wisdom to that.
Question that as well, because if you think about it, like everything that is not Western is demonized.
Everything that is not Western that's what kills me.
It's neutralized as well, like it's desensitized. Like you have to.
But the Western took it from them, though.
Right.
That's the worst. It's like you steal it and then you demonize it, take it for your own, and then basically just brainwash a whole next generation of people. Dilute. I was talking to Blake Mitchell the other day, and we were talking about how, you know, a lot of the Westernization and the syncretation of these deities, like really misunderstood beings like Archangel Michael, which is really much so more aligned to the stars. All these beings come from the stars. All these stories come from the stars. Astrology at some point, like David said in his Age of Deception video, was hand in hand in Christianity. It was an instituted effort to separate them because of how they wanted to deceive and pull more people into religion. So it's like, you know, you have canonically these beings who have been, of course, westernized or Catholicized and fetishized to mean certain things when they're all interrelated. Like Jesus is supposed to represent Ra, Jupiter, and Set is supposed to represent the devil. You know what I'm saying? But even there was a Ivy League professor that was able to read the Bible and realize that the depiction of Lucifer is not truly the way Christians present them. If you read the Bible soundly, there's not much in the Bible to allude that Lucifer is an evil being or like a bad being. It's someone who frequented heaven, talked with God. He looks like an overzealous prosecutor, not someone who is evil and wants to see. Even though you see verses like the lion and the devil coming to and fro, it's just, you can't really link that to Lucifer. It's almost like that was a reach where some people like decided to link the two. And there's a lot that in translation, because remember, it took a while before the printing press came and revolutionized the world. Before then, people had to rewrite stuff, rewrite it, translate it, read it, rewrite it, and there's meaning that's lost in translation when you're reading it from another language and they might say things different. There's some people who took a translation of, you know, who is like God, or certain things Jesus said to mean certain things when, you know, the inflection is different, or it's not supposed to be as extreme, and then it totally shifts the narrative into meaning something different, which completely now, you know, brainwashes the whole populace of people.
No, do you know what? There's a revelation that I got that just dropped in me the other day that I was just like, whoa, I never saw it like that. And it was about Lucifer. Because if you think about it, Lucifer, he was the light bearer, also the morning star, also as Jesus. But at the end of the day, he had all of these gems and jewels. He was the most beautiful being in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find really interesting is that he was the reflection of the light of God, right? But if you really look at what was actually happening in heaven at the time, like, really, Lucifer was like, actually, he didn't just how they talk about the fall is like, oh, it's negative because he wanted to become God. No, he actually was God, and God was actually taking his reflection, acting like that was his light.
So, it was an expression of God in the form of light, which Bobby Hemmett said Lucifer, the devil, or Lucifer, not the devil, is supposed to represent our pineal gland, because that is where we see light. It bears light in order for us to see through our retinas.
It also connects to called the Lux gene, which is a light gene. That's what that whole Lucifer thing, even Luciferians, they're trying to activate that Lux gene.
That Lux gene, exactly. Yeah.
But it's like, when you look at it, it's really what happened in heaven was a rebellion of, like, these angels are prisoners. This is why the hell are you talking to angels? Like, they're enslaved under this false light, this false acting as God, which is not God. Because if you think about it, look in the Bible. Who was it? Oh, I've got the figures somewhere. God killed over 2 million people, I think it was, and the devil killed probably like in double digits, like probably like 10 in the Bible. So who's really God and who's really Satan?
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, it's a very irrational, and if a careful analysis and reading of the Old and New Testaments shows you a fragmented, because remember, these are all books that we're talking about 40 plus books that somebody decided to canonize. A group of people were like, we're going to let these books be the Old Testament. We're going to let these books be so there's the book of Enoch, I forgot what it was called, another set of books, not the Pentateuch. I completely forgot what it was called though, but books that were supposed to be in the New Testament, but the Apocrypha, yeah. And like, it was a lot of biasness that decided and determined what books are canonized to fit the certain Christian narrative that they wanted to fit. The New Testament does not mix with the Old Testament. They're totally different books. The institution and invention of Jesus was to try and change the image of God as a jealous God into one that's approachable, that people can come to, because none of these books are really as related. They're written by different people. And like, there is that whole not sophist, but, you know, there's that rendition where, you know, Sophia is the serpent that freed humanity from the bondage of this self-proclaimed Jehovah God. So there is that slant to it, because if you think about how irrational that is, you literally have in the book, in the Pentateuch, where Moses is interceding for the people that he led out. Like, God, you made me lead these people out of Egypt. Yeah, they're annoying as hell, but why are you going to kill them? Like, please. And that was supposed to, of course, indicate a faithfulness to God that you have to have, where people are so brainwashed, they don't even realize the vindictiveness of a deity that you say is all loving. and that you just basically Stockholm syndrome your way into having faith and just hoping that your prayers will be answered. And what really confuses people is prayers do get answered. People think that because they see apparitions, because they have signs, because they get prayers answered, entities can answer prayers. That doesn't make them the most high. You know what I'm saying? People always want to talk about their Christian experiences. That could literally have been a demon who's fronting like that. Then that's giving you what you want. Like, you don't really know. No one really knows.
You know, you saw Jesus.
Exactly.
How do you know what Jesus looks like?
Exactly. There you go. There you go.
Like, literally, like, I have to question these people because I'm like, yo, how you telling me you saw like I remember my spiritual father, he was like, the reason why I know Jesus exists is because I know I saw him physically with my own eyes. I was like, but how do you know what Jesus looks like? Like, who, like, do you know something that I don't know? Like,
Jesus had flashed his picture, his passport, like, this is what I look like, guys. Yep, this is my hair. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you have to question. And even the Bible says even the devil can appear as an angel of light. So what are you really seeing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to question all of these things, because it's like, it's so easy to give away. I almost see it as like giving away your consciousness without allowing yourself to actually go through the process of thinking for yourself. Like, you just, like, take it out, hand it on a plate. I don't need it anymore. Like, you're allowing people to think for you when you don't allow yourself to go through that process of understanding yourself. And I'm the type of person where it's like, if I'm going to do something, I have to give everything to it. Like, I have to dedicate my whole life. Like, I'm not trying to be fake. Like, this is why everything I do, like, I have to, I'm fully about it, because, you know, I'm not going to go into it unless I'm there. But it's like, I couldn't do that. And it's funny because even with me talking about like stuff like theology and stuff now, and that's something that was deterred from me as a Christian, because they always, I don't know if you was told this, but I was told, if you go into theology, you'll leave Christ, you'll leave church. And it's like, how can I leave church by studying theology? Which is
that's how I left. I tried to study theology. I left. I read a book about someone who was studying theology, and he left because he found out too much. It's like, whoa, hold on. This is not what I was looking for.
Right.
You realize the truth, and it's like, my whole life has been a lie. This is ridiculous.
Right.
Wow.
And it's like, now I know why you've been trying to stop me from doing this or looking into theology for a long time. Like, it was clear. You know, I'm not stupid. You know what I mean? Like,
man.
Take all of this stuff and not think, like, nah, not me.
And the only defense that people have, like the conviction Christians have against astrologers and magicians, is the most hypocritical conviction ever, because it's solely based on this book. All you see are stories. All they're going to do is quote stories of Paul or Moses, how, the Pharaoh had astrologers and they couldn't beat Moses's staff. Paul was talking to a magician. They burned those books. The magician tried to come up to Paul to buy power, and God reduced him. Honey, that is a story in the book of the Bible. You need to understand reality for fiction. You can't just sort a story from a fictional narrative as proof as to why magicians are bad. You can't just, that's literally like me saying, I read this book in Spider-Man, and Spider-Man, the power of Spider-Man was more powerful than the astrologers in the book. Boo, Spider-Man is not real. Like, you're not talking about anything real. Don't try and cite Bible verses as proof as to why divination is bad because you read it in a verse. Like, people
But this is what doesn't make any sense. You're contradicting yourself. There's divination in the Bible. What are they doing? Casting lots. What is that?
That's what priests are ordained to do.
They're doing necromancy. Were you talking to God? Were you talking to Jesus? Is that not necromancy? Is he not dead?
The wise men literally incorporated astrology to see the 3 stars and know that one of them was probably Saturn or Jupiter. And they were able to find out based off, you know what I'm saying? So it's like the Bible nowhere in no terms explicitly even says that it's wrong to do. It's just the interpretation that people use to gain more influence. It's very sickening.
But it doesn't make sense though, because like if you look at people like Daniel, he was Chaldean. So you praise Daniel, but you reject his wisdom. Yo, they were on their astrology, they were on their divination, they were on all of that kind of stuff. So
he didn't eat the meat of the kingdom. He did his own magic. He interceded with the angels. Archangel Michael and Gabriel visited him like, yeah, I know you were praying to me, homie, but these demons were fighting your boy. So that's why it took a while for your prayer. I love that story. I'm reading the book of Daniel currently too. Mm-hmm. Like I'll still read the Bible, by the way, because there's wisdom in it, but it's not something that I'm going to just like completely forsake other wisdom because it wasn't said in the Bible. And that's something that just needs to be broken through like once and for all, because it's thankfully, you know, you have the opposite side of it. There are people who feel like the Bible should be burned, and no, like there's a reason why these religious structures, there's wisdom in every single religion, but we've reached a place in humanity where we can put it aside. We can move away from it. Please, like we can move towards more scientific principles, and like we have an opportunity to create a new spirituality. Like that is our greatest lesson. And that's what Pluto and Sagittarius is going to do. Like our Pluto Scorpio, we represent the end of the old world, the end of old beliefs. And then everything that's destroyed with us and purified, Pluto Sagittarius is going to create new systems of thought, new philosophies, new religions, new ways of life. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing. But yeah. So you go by soul reconnection, right?
Yes. Well, that is the name of my business and my YouTube page. Well, most of my Instagram, my Facebook, my soul, whatever. It's like
very fitting.
Yeah, it's like 11:50 over here, so my words are like muddling up. But yeah, it's called soul reconnection.
And that definitely works with the Scorpio and Gemini energy. It's like your Gemini is reconnecting people to the deep Scorpio energy of the soul.
Yeah, and you know what? I specifically called it soul reconnection as opposed to soul connection.
Yeah, that's genius.
Everyone is trying to, like, I feel like everyone has that soul connection, but it's reconnection that you need to do, and like almost like go through that deeper level of revealing. It's like taking off that first layer and really revealing the essence of these wounds, where you can stare it in its face and be like, wow, okay, that's what's underneath all of that. And really be real with it. And this is the thing, because there's power in that. Like, this is why I'd never despise your Lilith. Like, your Lilith is your power. Your shadow is your greatest power. Like, this is where you transmute your power. I'm a Lilith and Scorpio as well. So I literally continually transmute. I'm continually alchemizing myself. I'm continually alchemizing experiences. You know, even just transmuting ideas and philosophies in itself. Like, I'm just continually on a swipe. But yeah, I feel like the reconnection is important because it's we all have that soul connection in terms of like when you're doing music, when you're just expressing yourself creatively, like it's almost like that flow state. But understanding that flow state, understanding the essence of where it comes from, like all of that, like really stripping all of that down.
Yep.
Like, that's the second layer. Like that's the reconnection aspect of things. And it's discovering that, like that's where the power really comes, because it's almost like you can target the energy much more strategic. It's like bullseye rather than, oh, I'm just, expressing my creativity. It's almost like it's intent. Like when I write my music, like especially the stuff that I started writing post church, there's a song on my SoundCloud that's called Home to Eden. This whole song is literally an incantation, like positive incantation. It's literally saying like I'm coming back to center. Like it's all to do with like for example the word home. Like when you break that down, what is in the middle of that? Like the vowels in itself are specific, hold specific vibrations. If you don't know what you're doing, like you need to know what words you're saying, why you're saying it, like where the essence of these words come from, like what vibration. Like I even go so deep in terms of, I told you I'm a producer, so in mastering your music, like putting it at 432 hertz, which is the vibration of the heart, rather than the default 440, which is actually destroying your cells and your energy and everything. Like this is what this music is on 440 hertz right now. Adele does her music on 432 hertz, which is why everyone's like, oh my God, you know, because you feel that music.
So the difference between 440 and 442 is that extreme. That's
It's very extreme. Like you feel it. You can go online and do like the test 432, 440 hertz. You will feel 432 in your heart. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like there's science to these things that you need to be able to understand what you're doing, but that only comes with really understanding yourself. Yep. Do you get what I mean? Like, so yeah.
Very true indeed. And so what really inspired you to found Soul Reconnection as a business?
Well, if I be real, that was a kick up my backside. It was like, I didn't have a choice. This was my leap of faith. Yep. Okay, let me be real. Because as I'm an artist, so that was my path, and me actually starting Soul Reconnection was like, at first I was actually, it's what I do naturally. It's not even so much a business for me, because every single one of my friends or anyone around me, you're gonna have like these type of deep conversations that's gonna be so like healing anyway. Like that's just the type of person I am. So I remember having these conversations with my friends, and they were like, and then I started doing like tarot, and like started doing my astrology readings, and they're like, you need to start a business. What the hell are you playing at? Like, and I was like, no, it's not me. And it was on imposter syndrome, because I felt that everyone else had been like in this outside of Christianity a longer time than me. So I felt like my addition or contribution wasn't enough.
Oh, okay.
It was like, yeah, you come from Christianity, you're already programmed.
Oh, yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So I think it even took me so long for me to even call myself an astrologer, because of that as well. Yeah. And because of like the negative kind of aspects you get to that when you've been in Christianity for so long, being told that these things are demonic and stuff. Yeah. And then you start doing it, it's like, you know, but essentially I started my business because I am so passionate about healing and self-discovery and self-development. Like, it's something that I do daily. Like, this ain't no joke. Like, every day I'm doing some kind of reflection. Even someone could do something bad to me, negative to me. I'm going back into myself, and I'm like, what is it that I'm projecting in this situation? Because I need to take accountability for this. This isn't them, this is me. Like, that's how like deep I go, because it's like I have to constantly be refining myself. And so I am in the process of like my own struggles of dealing with my own mental health, going through struggles of sexual abuse, going through like multiple different struggles that I've been through in my life. I realized that there's a way that I've been able to transmute these traumas in a way that it's not to say that I'm not affected by it. You'll always be affected by certain things, but it's no longer a weakness for me. And I was just like, I want to be able to teach people and show people and not even be an example, be the proof, because everyone wants to be an example. Like, no, be the proof in the pudding. Like, you do it yourself, heal yourself, and then be that proof so that everyone can see actually it's possible to heal yourself. And so, yeah, that was kind of like the motivation behind me creating Soul Reconnection, and just being like, you need to take care of your mental health. We need to not neglect these these things inside of ourselves. Like we can't just shove it under. And I think as well, because of the manifestation of what fibromyalgia is actually a manifestation of trapped trauma. So all of that pain that I get in my body, that's the trapped pain that I've had to be carrying for so many years that is just manifesting in my body. Like I understand how trauma can make you ill. And I want people to just understand it doesn't need to go that deep. You know, you can actually just help yourself way before you get to that point just by, you know, just doing the right processes to heal, really. So I know that's really long-winded. That's my typical Gemini coming out.
I love
I don't even know if I answered the question.
I love being a Gemini. I mean, it's what's said was said.
Like, let's look everywhere, won't we?
And so what gifts and what services do you offer?
Okay, so yeah, I do offer astrological services, but I do offer inner child healing, shadow work mastery, emotional mastery. So I'm doing a lot of things that are helping you to really understand your come into a place of emotional intelligence, but really go deep into not only just uncovering all the pain, so you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so hurt, but learning how to transmute that into a place of power as well. So if you head over to my website, you'll be able to see the long list of different services that I do offer.
Which I do have in the link below, the description box below. I got your YouTube, I got your website, and I got your email, thankfully.
Yeah.
So let's play the 3 questions game.
Okay.
We'll take turns asking each other questions, and you can start first. It could be about anything. So okay. I'll answer the question and I'll ask you a question, and then we'll go back and forth 2 more rounds.
Okay, cool. What is the most powerful thing that you've learned in your Saturn return thus far?
I'm struggling to put it into words, but the Saturn return has been chock full of wisdom. Oh my gosh. I think the most powerful thing that I've learned so far is it's an overall theme of embracing the dark and seeing the shadow for what it is. Because it's in my 8th, 9th house. So it's like bringing to light a lot of darkness. I think the most powerful thing that I've learned so far is that there is the truth, and then there is the perception of truth that majority of the world follows. And that the whole notion of what this is teaching me, because Saturn is about authority, it's about sovereignty. So Saturn is low-key poking at me like, are you really sovereign? Are you really free? You pay taxes, you're given a name, you're given a number. Up until a certain amount of age, you're not really allowed to make your own decisions. You have coming of age ceremonies that don't really represent who you are. The culture that you come from has been destroyed. Do you know who you are? And what Saturn has been teaching me is I'm not free. I don't live a real life. Like I live in a false reality. Saturn has really been teaching me the laws that I follow. Are you sovereign over these laws, or are these laws placed upon you? Because I think about it right now. Why do I pledge allegiance to an American flag? Why do I acknowledge territories in the place that they are? And when I think about it, the institution of law and democracy is really not true democracy, because if no one if people were to really, do what they wanted per se, which is the purpose of the law, right? But if people wanted to make an independent decision that goes against the law, then they're going to be thrown in jail. It's basically like the reason why people follow the law is because they don't want to be detained. So the forces and government structures in every country that have their own military, they're real. I'm starting to see them more as gangsters than like law abiding officials. Like Saturn has broken it down. Like my whole life, I've been programmed and doctrinated to believe in certain customs, to see certain traditions, to partake in certain rituals through repetition, to make me believe that I'm supposed to adhere to these laws. Because outside of that, what is it to say that this isn't just a group of people who does not represent everyone, who just decided this is what we're going to do with this land? Like Saturn is teaching me the hard cold reality of this life that we live. Everything that constitutes the decisions I make is really impeding into my own sovereignty. Every single time I make a decision to adhere to the rules and guidelines that I am meant to, is that an authentic decision, or am I doing it because I have to? Is this a decision under duress? The reason why I don't cross that red light, is it really because I mean, obviously it's for efficiency. This is very, very efficient so that we all don't cross or crash into each other. But then there's the actual conversation of who has the right to assert these laws on people. Is it fair because a group of people came together under a democracy and decided for the rest of people? Does that make it fair? Like it's something that, you can't really speak up against, because people will either just make you out to be a terrorist or some kind of radical thinker. But a lot of the stuff that we're just made to believe is very much so peer pressured, societally induced, and very false. Case of the matter is, most of these territories came at the death, genocide, and kidnapping of other people. So why do we still have to adhere to a tradition created by a bunch of old men who wore powdered wigs and fucking stockings? Why does their culture still influence me? These are just questions that, as a man, as an adult, I'm having to ask myself, why do I have to follow the law? Is it because I want to? And so what Saturn is helping me learn is there is a cosmic law. There is a cosmic law that exists in the stars that is the only law that one should follow, the law upon one's heart. And so it's like control on my soul, all in the name of like corporate veiled terms that gloss this over in a reasonable way. This isn't control, it's democracy. It's fair. We all vote for it, but it's all brainwashing. It's all programming. I mean, like from a child, your child has to go to school and learn rituals and traditions, language that literally rewires that kid's brain to think in a certain pattern, to say certain things. And Saturn has just awakened me up from this delusion, because we have Neptune and Uranus on it. And it's like, hey, homie, like your whole entire life is a complete lie. You don't even know who you are, because from birth, every single facet of you has been stripped. And now you literally have to unlearn it. You've been told you're a black man. That's not true. This is black. I'm not black. I've been told that I'm my name and my last name. I've been told that I'm American. This land is not America. It was just a bunch of people who decided to call it that. And then you brainwash people into a false sense of nationalism, putting rhetoric and propaganda to excuse the murdering of other people in the name of national security. And no other country is exempt too. It's all an illusion. Like all the stuff that I'm used to identify myself is not who I am. And now you have a whole generation of people seeking themselves, sad, depressed, because they've been giving a lie and they're waking up to find out they're still hungry. They haven't been nourished. So it's really fucked up. And it's really teaching me that there's so much work we have to do. And it's like, it's going to have to deal with revolution. But it sucks because you ask these questions and people are just going to say, oh, you're fake woke. Oh, you think you're too woke for school. You're looking too deeply into it, because people like the comfort that they're awarded. Because whether you like it or not, there's comfort in this matrix. Just like Cypher said, you have good food, you have good entertainment, you have protection. So it shouldn't matter that these are happening, because it's a price you have to pay. When at the end of the day, everyone's living a fake life. Everyone's living a false reality. No one really is real and authentic as they could be. Everyone's following trends, and we do the same thing over and over, and not realizing it's insane. And the people who do speak up about it get sentimental awards. The people who do try and change anything by leaking stuff on WikiLeaks get sent to jail. And it happens right in front of your face. People are picked off and killed, and their whole legacies are tarnished because propaganda has lied about them. I'm sorry, I'm answering this way too much.
No, it's hella real.
The Saturn return has been like killing me. It's my 8th house. It's like, hey, Michael, like, I know this is who you think you are, but nope. Like, you have no idea. You haven't been given the opportunity. So any one of you during this Saturn return, like, I'm just letting you know, like, this is your opportunity to go deep, because the system sees you as a number. That's it. And your social security, and that's it. You're way more than a number. You're way more than a consumer. All you are to the system is a consumer that can fuel its economy and become another statistic. You're way more than that. You are way more than that. And the only law that that's the biggest thing, Saturn time. The only law I acknowledge is cosmic law. The stars are the only, I will never pledge allegiance to a flag. The stars are the only thing I'll pledge allegiance to. And this very statement can get me in trouble. I can probably, some people might try and lock me up for treason, or try and, say that I'm spitting anti-government rhetoric when I'm just telling the truth. So, it's crazy. But my question for you is, how do you personally deal with a lack of no. How do you deal? Because I love the Scorpio moon conjunct Pluto. Your souls are so like pure. You can spot who's fake. You can spot who's possessed. You literally sense entities and energies around and in people. So how do you deal with the influx of possession that's occurring because of the Institute of Television, that now, whereas before, like demon possession or impurity possession happened at small stints, versus now where thousands of people can watch a television program and the negative entity in that television program can go into your spirit, and now thousands of children are getting possessed. Thousands of people. So how do you deal with this infestation of possession, where like 3 out of 4 people are possessed by negative entities and they may not even know? But someone like you who's a pure, so like Scorpio moon conjunct Pluto, they can't be possessed because they're pure. Like anything that tries to come in there gets expelled.
Let me tell you something. I'm an astral assassin. Like I'm that assassin up there. Like there's nothing that can. Listen, I've gone against entities directly, like in my brain, like trying to infiltrate themselves. And when you understand the power of your mind, and I think this is what Saturn's trying to do. Well, obviously Saturn's on my 3rd house in my Saturn return.
Nice.
Just understanding the power of my mind, and even with Pluto being there as well.
So true.
Like when you understand that you're a sovereign being within yourself, sovereignty comes from inside. Sovereignty is not a word that you can write, a treaty that you can sign.
It's not a title like I'm a king or I'm a queen, you should worship. No. Yeah.
Sovereignty is an energy that you project. And I continuously cover myself or shield myself in my own sovereignty, knowing sovereignty doesn't work unless you know you're sovereign yourself. Like when you know, hold on, no, there's legalities to this thing. You cannot enter in here. Like, what are you doing? Like when you really like, because a lot of people, you can almost think that, but you're not believing that. So it's almost like you're uh uh not rejecting, but you're almost voiding what is taking place altogether. So literally, the moment you understand the power of your mind, I had entities trying to attack me last week, and all I did is was put up a mirror, and it just smashed everything. Okay, like I don't need no oil, I don't need no crystals, I don't need no nothing. I need my mind. Okay, and that will do enough damage. Like with these entities in itself, like I don't need to be warring. This ain't a battle. Who are you? Do you know what I mean? You have to come with that level of authority. And I'm telling you, like, Saturn and Pluto has taught me so much about authority and really standing in your own divine power. That's what Sekhmet is. Like, really learning to stand in your own divine power. That's what grounding is. Just standing in yourself. The moment you stand in yourself and you just, it's like nothing can come in. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, like that. I
But
think,
you know what? I think the people who do get susceptible, they don't know who they are, so they don't know how to stand aside.
yeah, but that's the thing. This is because anxiety comes like let me tell you, like these things are scary. They can be scary. Like,
Mhm.
I've seen some stuff like that's been. I mean, I've seen someone literally turn into a demon in front of me through the internet, like into some dark entity, and I've been like, "Ooh, okay," like that's mad. But the moment that you're like, no, like you have to, like fear is real, but you have to put up that shield quickly. Like you have to, like the moment that like you have to learn how to snap into yourself quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah,
And I've always been able to do that.
which
I
comes
was
with practice.
a very person in my
Yeah,
childhood. It's only in the last 2 years, approaching my Saturn return, where I was just thrown into the pit, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna have to learn your power. I didn't even know I had these abilities until I was forced into the fire, where I had to learn how to fight
hmm
myself.
hmm
You know,
Yup.
and it's
hmm
also, yeah, you have no one has more power over yourself than yourself. When you keep affirming that over yourself and start really believing that, nothing can touch you. Forget all of these witch wars and whatever. Entity where? What? No. Not about that life.
True that. True that. But I love how you mentioned the power of the mind with the Saturn in the third. That's so true.
Yeah.
That's very
You
powerful.
know? Because there's even a power struggle in there as well. Like, I'm just learning these whole like when you see, again, it goes down to just really understanding yourself. If you don't have enough confidence in yourself, if you don't even see yourself as worthy,
Hmm.
you're not going to have any power to be able to deal with these things because you've already given away your power.
Amen. Yep.
Right? So yeah.
And so okay, yeah, we're on round two now. It's your turn to
Oh, is
ask.
it my turn? Sorry.
It's all good.
Next question.
I was gonna ask something, but I'm gonna borrow off of what you just said for my next question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what generation would you say you resonate with most?
That's a good question. Okay. Um, as far as moon sign, Pluto Scorpio for sure. Um, I do like Pluto Virgo to a degree. What I noticed about some Pluto Virgo is that they can be too serious.
Mm,
Like I can't crack religious jokes with my mom. Like she takes it too serious. Like even if it's a clean joke, like she doesn't play with that.
yeah.
I know some Pluto Virgos that can make jokes about that though. So it's not strictly a Pluto Virgo thing.
Mm,
Pluto Libra clashes with my moon. I'm not gonna lie. I do like Pluto Libra. Shout out to the Pluto Libras.
mm,
Um, Pluto Scorpio, I would say I resonate the most with, because we understand each other. It's like we get it. We're from the 90s. But I want to say Pluto Sag, I think, clashes with my spirit, but I really have a liking to them because I know what they're here to accomplish. But that's a really good question. I'm gonna say Pluto Scorpio. Pluto Scorpio for sure. It's just that depth, that wisdom, and that like that deep psychic understanding, wisdom.
Keys, man. So we can't come here with the wisdom.
Oh yeah, I love me some Pluto Scorpio. I'll say that. So my next question to you is, some people kind of, the reason why I like to bring up, I always kind of feel a bit sensitive when I talk about telepathic attacks. As an air sign, it's a reality to me. And it's something that was confirmed in a reading yesterday. I had an amazing reading. Shout out to Amanda Novella, Sophia Nova. We had a reading yesterday, and she picked up on the telepathic battle that I was going through. And I didn't want to say anything because I know that some people may think it's just schizophrenia. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's not like some people who I tell, they're always like, it's in your head. Like, it's not really telepathic people you're picking up. It's just like your shadow. And it sucks because like I'm wise enough to tell the difference between a schizophrenic like shadow tendency and a legit psychic attack. So I had that reading yesterday, and I didn't tell her I was going through this, and she just outright told me that, like, dude, someone keeps on like like she verbatim. But see, she's a Capricorn, so she has her sun on my moon. So it's for her to be aware of that internal dynamic makes sense. So it's not that it's wrong for people to say that there's a shadow tendency to it, because what people don't realize is that in their effort to like prove wrong psychic phenomena, they juxtapose it from a logical explanation, not knowing that it's one and the same. A telepathic attack is going to manifest as a schizophrenic apparition. It's not that if someone was telepathic, it's not schizophrenic. Like, it's going to manifest as an auditory or visual hallucination. It doesn't mean that it's not telepathy, right? So as air signs, we literally are aware of thoughts. Like, that's the psychic of air signs. We're telepathic. We can sense thought currents and streams. Water can do emotional currents and streams. That's why they're super psychic. So like, my question for you, and what I've noticed is that, whenever I'm dealing with shadow tendencies, because that happens too, sometimes I can project what I feel within myself on other people. When it's not other people, it's me. It's my own shadow that's trying to bring you down, versus a distinctness of being able to sense clearly, feel another vibration, and sense telepathic attacks, sense direct attacks on one's soul, sense and literally feel and hear energy and literal people saying things. All right. It's not like an insecurity though, where it's like, oh, is this what this person thinks about me? It's a direct, I'm feeling you real time saying this. I can quantify it. I can confirm it. So what I noticed with that is that attacks like such attack your self-esteem. It's almost geared to make you not believe in yourself. That's what really helped me see through it. It's like, why are you, like, I realized it's trying to make me not harness my power, because a lot of my power is directly linked to my self-esteem and the more confident I feel. So if you're trying to make me feel unconfident in myself, it's because you're afraid of my power. So like, what advice do you have for dealing with telepathic attack, and how do you personally deal with like, and I mean, in most cases, it's unconscious. Maybe most people may not even know that it's an aspect of their shadow, or it's deliberate.
Very aware. Like, remember the experience that I had. I've spoken about some of it on my channel, but again, it's just learning. Or are you talking about the discerning of whether it is an attack or if it is actually you? Or
no, good question. No. This is. I just wanted to preface that the question is, it's an attack. How do you deal with it?
Again, it's a mental thing. Like,
Yeah.
again with the mind, exactly what I was talking about. Like, you, this thing that is like, you can, I almost call it like NLP for the mind, where it's like, say for example, the voice that's coming in, like I can just shut it down and be like, volume down, like, but I'm like, every intention that I'm putting with it, like there's energy and force with it. Do you get what? But it's all visualization. Like, again, it's understanding your sovereignty and understanding that there's a boundary inside of your head, that's your space, and what you don't want to come in, you don't have to, like, you can open the door and you can close the door. It's all legalities, and it's all in the mind. Like, this is why your mind has to be like, you have to make sure that you're dealing with whatever you need to do with regards to your mental health, just to make sure that you're balanced in your mind, so that you can actually, not everyone can have that level of power, because your anxiety, again, that you don't need to be. But it's about really learning how to slow things down, because again, it's the anxiety that kicks up and it makes you, oh my gosh, I'm getting attacked, and that's actually what amplifies it.
That amplifies it for sure. Yeah,
exactly. So if you actually just slow things down and just try to be still, really try to be still, really try to be like, okay, like even the other day, when I had an attack come to me, I literally like saw the attack come in slow-mo. I was like, okay, an attack is here. Okay, all right, cool. I need to deal with it. Then I got into myself. Like, I'm not even trying to hype up myself. Do you get what I mean? Like, because that in itself creates the fuel. You give it energy. If you're like, oh my God, if you see it coming, and you almost affirm
its existence.
size of it.
Yeah. That's what I used to do. I just not even used to, I did this last night. Like, because I have Mars and Aries, so I get to a point where it bottles up and then I just erupt. And then I tap in Professor X style, and I just start telepathically blasting back like, is this what you think for real? Man, you about to see, you ain't seen nothing yet. Like, screw you. And every time I do that, I don't hear shit. Like, this stops after a while. But
it's also knowing that you don't have to fight all the time as well, because every time topic comes into your mind, like, most of the time I don't even give certain things energy. I just notice it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, you're there. Okay, you don't need to be in here.
That's what I need to work on. Like, it's a bit of immaturity on my part, where I don't have to acknowledge it. Like, I really do. I can detach from it, but it's my ego that gets triggered, and then it's just like, oh fuck, and I'm just yes, like, who are you? You just say it to my face. Say it to my face. You ain't in my face though. It's so like Aries. So I'm just like, okay, I need to chill. I don't need to be responding like I'm better than that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I only just mastered that lesson this year. And mastering. Like,
mastering, yeah. It brings out an ugly side of you if you let it. It's just like, but it is what it is. Like,
but I realized that, like, the attack that I had 2 years ago, it was because I didn't have control over my anxiety. That's what actually was. I allowed the attacks that were sent to almost seep into. I allowed it to seep in. It didn't even need to seep,
Yeah.
So just know that sometimes you don't even need to fight. Like, learn how to pick your battle. Like, now I'm learning how to literally be so strategic. Like, I'm really coming into this Scorpio energy of mine, where I'm like even right now, like, when you have to sit down on something, you've got information, and you just have to sit down and wait for the perfect time to actually approach the situation, rather than step into your Gemini and be like, no, I want to slap it down now.
Yeah.
Like, I really Saturn is really, really helping me grow up and really mature into, like really, really learning how to harness my integrity.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Nice.
Oh, it's my turn now.
Yeah, we got one more round.
Juicy. Let me think. What do you think the most significant? What do you think is going to happen, especially with this, like these new transits, Pluto in Aquarius, like especially Jupiter in Capricorn, and all that kind of like what? What do you feel is going to be like?
Oh my God. Okay. So you're talking about like Saturn and Aqua and like Jupiter and Aqua what's going to happen when it moves into there?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Okay. So Saturn Aqua is the establishment of new knowledge, because what happens when Saturn comes around is you usually have case studies. You usually have like documentaries that come out. You usually have like good understandings of the decade we just came from. So like we can now understand about the year 2000 to 2010.
Yeah.
Because we're done with it. Like we're almost 10 years off from that.
Yeah.
So now we're at a stage where we can look at, so what was 2010 to 2020? And that's all going to be studied. So the first thing we're going to have to deal with off the bat is coming into fire heavily, the spiritual community. It's long overdue. The spiritual community is coming under heavy extermination, under heavy fire, because there's too much fake psychics. There's too much people who shouldn't be calling themselves astrologers. They shouldn't be calling themselves psychics. And so there's going to be a lot of work undergone to basically make people take this even less seriously. And whatever they're going to do, it's going to work. And they're gonna spin information. They're going to twist it. But you know who it's going to be the best for? Authentic psychics, people who really walk the path, because you're going to see people super skeptical more than ever, but we're the real deal. So we'll just be like, let me just read your chart. And now you're going to have people who are skeptical who now are forced to believe because we're showing them. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not just like showing conjecture. We're not giving Barnum statements. It's gonna force people to be a lot much sharper with what they do. But if you think about Saturn cycling around since '89, right? And then meeting with Pluto, which wasn't back until 1776, every single knowledge, every single rhetoric, every single train of thought from 1776 up until now is going into the cosmic sewer bin and trash can. And so what Jupiter and Saturn and Aqua represents is a new knowledge. It's the beginning of a greater knowledge that's going to incorporate new scientific findings, new ways it's going to debunk a lot of modern scientific findings in the past couple decades. It's going to debunk religious understandings because of our understanding of quantum mechanics, because of our greater understanding of space. This is going to make way for greater understandings of dimensional awareness, where we'll be able to know more about string theory. We'll be able to break through and to learn how to perceive higher dimensions. However, realistically, because Aquarius represents such a height of madness, because Uranus rules Aquarius, there's an energy of madness that's been heightening within people as this energy has been moving forward. And this madness is what's making people crazy. It's the stress, it's the symptoms of the generations prior, and how their incompatibility with the younger generations is coming to a head. So all that Aquarius energy is
bugging out
of madness. Exactly. Yeah. We're in Capricorn, so it's reaching spikes of craziness. But like once this moves into Aquarius, the level of crazy is going to spike at an all-time high and it's going to stay there. So school shootings are going to be more common. public shootings are going to be more common. Terrorist activity is going to be more common. And this is just a consequence of that attitude within children who are now of age. Because this is what you have to think about Saturn cycles. When Saturn comes around, the people who were children at the beginning of that cycle are now of age. Now they're going to make decisions. And these motherfuckers are crazy. They are mad.
Yeah.
They don't know, it's not their fault because they've been lied to their whole life. And so this is just an expression of rebellion and recklessness. What else is their answer to what we've been given? And while they'll be demonized and villainized, they're only a symptom. So there's going to be the most crazy technological advancements that will make the advancements we have are already crazy. Yeah. But there's about to exponentially move forward because now society has reached a place where we have been technologically advanced for 20 years. Because remember, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, this was still relatively new. Now it's not new anymore. This is a new thing. Like we've never been here before. So it's definitely going to open up space for everybody to be a celebrity. And that's where we are right now. Anybody can go viral. Underground music is the new music. And like everyone can be a star. And we're so spoiled. We think having millions of views is fame. No. If you have hundreds of people watching you, you're famous. A lot of people are famous right now and they don't acknowledge it because they don't have millions of views. But no, honey, like 1,000 people know you. That's fame. Back in the day, that's fame. Like
creating on stages.
You know what I'm saying? You can live a whole lifetime and not know more than 30 people. It's not like that anymore. You can fucking go live and 30 people watching you. You're famous. Like that is being well known. So it's a reality adjustment. People are gonna have to realize, whoa, like this is where we are right now. And a lot of veils are gonna be removed. And unfortunately it's gonna get a lot uglier before it gets better because that Pluto Aqua is just going to flip and trigger the switch. And we're gonna see revolts, we're gonna see riots. We're going to see that shift between a peaceful demonstration with occasional riots to riots being the new language. This is happening. The media is suppressing this so much. If the media showed you how it is, it's already happening. But you're not going to see this on CNN because it doesn't promote an agenda. So all that, because what Aquarius is doing is it's removing mainstream outlets to make everyone a mainstream outlet. So it's definitely going to just peak all of the chaos that we have now. And I hate to say it's preparing us for war. Like I thought we would be a generation of peace, but there's still like another 2 wars that need to be fought before all this is like reduced back to nuclear waste. And I do believe there's a mass extinction event on our hands that's going to leave the rest of us to need to create a new world for whoever survives. So, I mean, I hope that does not happen. I hope that doesn't come true. I'm not even going to call that a prediction. It's just a theory. But my final question for you is if you had to choose a fixed sign and a cardinal sign to go on an adventure with, what 2 signs would those be?
Fixed or cardinal? Cardinal. I don't know. Because there's pros and cons to both. Because there's certain bits that irritate me and certain bits I could be like cardinals I'll be like, okay, I know I have more fun with. But I don't know. It's a hard question.
Because together you'd be mutable, cardinal, fixed.
I know. Like, it would only be between, like, a Taurus and an Aries.
The fundamental 3, Aries, Taurus, Gemini. That's one of
right.
People don't know that's one of the best teams. It's the original 3, the fundamental, We're not like the last 3, like Pisces. Aqua Pisces, I think, is the most powerful 3, but we started it.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, we're like the original Power Rangers. So
Right.
shit.
Probably Aries. Probably Cardinal.
Mm. That's what's up.
Yeah. Let's see.
Ree Burrell said, I feel like you guys are teaching us what a real first date should be like. And I ain't gonna lie, if this was, I would want a first date like this. That'd be amazing. We just chop it up,
Yeah.
right? That'd be awesome.
Do you know what? It's so crazy because like I'm intense, so my dates can be like that, but then it's like they may not have the meat to be able to match that. So then I just feel like I'm just over talking. Like I'm like, I'm just gonna go home now. I'll go talk to myself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Taurus and Aries is year 2?
Yeah, I'll probably go with. See, there's a time and a place. Like
exactly, yeah. That's
you know,
what's so hard about being a Gemini, because sometimes this people work, sometimes this people work.
Do you know what I mean? Like like if I want to be mellow, probably Taurus. If I want to go out, probably Aries.
Yeah.
So because it tempers to the two different sides of my character. So yeah.
Together as a team, it's phenomenal. Though it's very, very good, very, very good. All right. So, I mean, I was not planning on having a 2-hour conversation with you, but it didn't feel like 2 hours.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it just flew by. But thank you so much for calling in, for joining us and blessing us with your angelic grace.
No, thank you for having. Do you know what? Thank you, because you know what? I don't even know if you know this, but you put me onto astrology like a good 12 years ago. So
thank you. I'm very honored. Yeah,
so,
that's my purpose: is to bring people to the door, open people up.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
it is what it is. I'm glad I've reached a place now where it's like, oh, you're skeptical? Let me make you a believer. I made a Virgo a believer. That the day I did that, that's when I was like, I could do anything. It was a Virgo dude. He's like, yeah, my girlfriend's into this shit. And then I didn't even read his chart. I just knew his birthday. He's like, wow,
Yeah.
considering I didn't tell you about my life, you kind of knew a lot. Okay. I was like, what? I made a Virgo? Oh, it's a wrap. Like, I can do anything. That's what's up.
Yeah. Nah, but I appreciate it for real, like, because it was funny. It was just me coming out of Christianity, and that you was like the first astrology video I saw, and I was like, okay, relatable. We can do this. Let's go check.
I'm really honored. That's what's up. Yeah. That's really nice.
That's great. So no, this is an awesome opportunity for me that I'm really appreciative of.
So how can people reach you if they want to reach you?
Yeah, so I have my YouTube channel, which is Soul Reconnection. You can also find me on Instagram under Soul Reconnection as well, or Soul of Namz. And yeah, on Facebook as well, under Soul Reconnection. So also my website is www.soul-reconnection.com. I feel like I'm saying it over again, but yeah, that is the brand.
Cool. And do you have any final last word of advice for anyone on the spiritual path or anything?
I would just say keep things really simple and stop trying to shoot up here into the higher realms. Like the goal in this life is to really ground yourself in this reality. So just understand that, try to focus on the things that you try to run away from, including your physical responsibilities, including those niggling things inside of you that you haven't healed and properly purged from yet. Just really don't cheat yourself in this lifetime. It's not really going to be cute, and it's only going to backfire on you. So I'd just say, just get into the reality, get into this realm, like really ground yourself in it, and have fun. It doesn't have to be all serious, and it doesn't have to be all gloomy. Just have fun in your journey, and just take it a step at a time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. Keep it simple. I love it. Well, thank you once again. Thank you for those of y'all in the live chat showing love. We got a nice, healthy group watching. And yeah, until next time, you guys stay blessed as always. Peace out.